Everyone, welcome. We are here for today's event on ecosystems and data for boards. And today's event is also part of our Responsible AI program. So we have two events that are kind of introductory events that are open, and today is also one of them. So we have some participants from the program and also some participants that are joining us just for today's session. If we move forward, so I'm Fernanda Tour, and I'm the operations director here at the Boards Impact Forum. And we will also hear from Liselotte, that is our chair at the Boards Impact Forum, and also Ned. And we are very, very happy to have here with us today also Tuomas Syrjanen, that is the co-founder of Futurice, also a board director. And we were planned to have Anna Mossberg that had a small accident just yesterday, so she could not join us today. But we are going to have the event, and if we can move on to the agenda, I can give just a little bit of an overview. So we start introducing these topics today with some food for thought, also based on our structure that we are using for our program. And then we are going to hear from Tuomas and his insights on ecosystem and data. When it comes to the intervention of Anna, we are going to share a small video that we can watch together and give you a bit more information on that. Then we are going to go for a poll and a peer exchange. So we are going to have the possibility, the opportunity of exchange ideas in breakout rooms. And then we come back together, we share our insights. And then if we
maybe we should just say, Fernanda, that everybody's welcome to say hello in the chat and also comment and give your
absolutely
insights.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh,
so the chat is open, and we really encourage everyone to, post a link, a reference, thoughts, just so that we make it a bit dynamic also. And we would like to ask you to be muted for this first part. We will have opportunity to speak and share, but it would also be very important if you could identify yourselves with the name, because we will need it to create the breakout room. So it would be really useful if you could identify yourself. So if someone is iPhone 2 or iPad 1 or something like that, please change it. And we are going to also record the webinar, as we have been doing, and share it later on the channel from Boards Impact Forum. And then if we move on, Liselotte. So I wanted to kind of repeat a bit for those of you who have been joining our sessions. Some of these parts are a bit just kind of repeating, but it's really important that we understand, okay, where is this coming from? So Liselotte and I, together with Robin Tegland from Chalmers University, we did the research a few years back, AI Leadership for Boards, the Future of Corporate Governance. And this research that was done, funded by Vinnova, the Swedish innovation agency, together with Combient, which is a group of the largest Nordic companies. And this research really identified these two main areas that the boards should focus on when it comes to AI. One of them is operational capability, and the other one has to do with the supervision, so the governance capability. And these two groups really are based on the board's accountability, role, competence, and structure. And today's events, we are really focusing on the data strategy and the developing the digital ecosystems. If you move on, Liselotte, maybe you want to take this slide, Liselotte?
Right. So if you are thinking around your business, we told you last time, you can go back and look at that, how much impact it has started to have in some companies. now, just recently, the largest investor network, ICGN, they released guidance to all of their investors. And I was actually part of their annual meeting and joined some panels in July in London. And they really, there's two topics on the investors' agenda right now, and it is very much growth in combination with sustainability and AI. That's really the key topics. The AI, the interesting thing is that most investors are in the same position as the companies. They're quite unused still. And if they have it, it's very much as the other. It's very much on the predictive, the old established version of AI. So just looking at these questions and actually putting them up and having a discussion with your board. Could we answer these questions? What would we position ourselves to be? Have we considered AI in strategy? How have we organized our own knowledge? And if that question comes, it would be really good to have prepared that for you. So we thought that would be a really good document that is, if you have a really fact-oriented board, it's a good way to get them to start to discuss the topic. Back to you, Fernanda.
Thank you. So looking a little bit into these two areas, like I said, both data and ecosystems, it's really interesting to look at data as an asset. And if we look at data as one of the most important assets that any organization can have at the moment, then it's also really interesting to understand, okay, how many boards, which boards, and what are they doing in terms of governing that very important asset. And we have been asking in these events and in our research, and unfortunately it's very few organizations where the board is governing data. And it's really interesting, right? It's such an important asset. So why is that? So we have here two questions to help the boards in that path, and we have more. We have an entire framework around this in our book also. So in terms of guidance, is development of the organization's data management strategy adjusted to the business strategy? So where's your data strategy? How is it integrated with the business strategy? Where's the business value coming from? And just also monitoring the assessment of the organizational usage of data, both internal, external, and value creation. So you start with your internal data, but there's a point where you also need to integrate with other data, and how to do that. If you click one more, and then there's also another very interesting level that has to do with data monetization capabilities. So it's really interesting that top performing organizations attribute 10% more of their revenues to data monetization. So it's a really important aspect when it comes also, well, to the bottom line of the business. So if we're talking about the governance of these capabilities for data monetization, data management, the platform, data science, how it relates to the customer, acceptable data use, it's really important that the board has a grip on these. So are we selling our data assets? Are we selling insights? Are we embedding data into our products? Are we selling through an ecosystem with partners? And it's very important, like I was saying, that there's both the guidance of these capabilities and the supervision. If you click one more. Part of the data as you all know, probably has to do also with the quality of that data and how is the data trained and what biases are also incorporated on those models. And in many ways, we're all training the data, right? When we are clicking for identifying if are you a robot or not? Is this lights on the street or etc. We're all training data, and what are you doing in terms of training data in your organization and how to do it in a good way? If you click one more, we have here some insights from a survey that we conducted with this group on the previous cohort, meaning the participants from the training program that we organized. So a very similar group to this group that we are talking about today. And some of you are also here. Some of you are the people who answered the survey. When it comes to the board ensuring that the organization has a robust data strategy, some of you have 20%, but the vast majority doesn't really know or disagrees. So it's still a very small group, as I was saying before. And if you click one more, Liselotte, when we are going to look into the operational capability of data, we see that their leader organizations are more likely to have data-related enterprise strategies. So there to the left is this Harvard study, and 84% of leader organizations, so we're talking about the entire organization, are extracting value from data against 50%. And well, I think the graphic speaks by itself. So leader organizations are doing this in a better way. And then if we look into the gap when it comes to where you are and where you can go, it's really interesting also to see that arrow is the possibility to develop roadmaps between the assets in a current state and identify new possibilities determining a future state. So in terms of risk management, value creation, organizational structure, policy, all these have possibilities to improvement. Stewardship is there, the one that has the biggest possibility for improvement also, so which is really interesting for this group. So there's really, the main message is really the best organizations are doing it, and there's still a long way to go, a long journey to go when it comes to data. If we look a bit into ecosystems, it's really interesting to think about the need to be able to handle these relationships. So if this is difficult to do on your own organization, now you also should think on how you do it with partners. How do you manage this ecosystem together with others? And how do you also continuously assess the partners within this ecosystem? So it's building it, it's maintaining, it's guiding this development and supervising it. So we have here the example of Unity. When Unity started, it was a professional video game engine. So it was made to, and still is made to make games. It started with some very famous ones like Rust, Assassin's Creed Uni, and it was also doing VR games. And then it started to develop more and more so that it would also provide solutions to businesses. So moving from gaming to making films, animations, simulations, training exercises for businesses. And it can be automotive, you see it there. It can be architecture, construction, even the US armed forces. At the moment, more than 40% of games are made in Unity, and it's really the largest, fastest growing gaming platform in the market. And it's really interesting to see how this is a platform that allows different stakeholders to come together in a way that really wouldn't happen if there wasn't such a platform, such an ecosystem. If you click one more, Liselotte. Like I was saying, from driving simulations to improving engineering. So, and if you go to their website, you will see that there's a really vast examples of fast rendering for innovation. It's really interesting for prototyping, for example. If you move forward, Liselotte. So when we are talking about ecosystems and what the board should think about, it's a balancing act between the innovation, developing new possibilities for value creation, but also data privacy and security. When you have this value being created, what kind of security frameworks should be in place, which is also very much connected also with regulatory compliance. How can you comply when you are working with others at the same time that you maintain your competitive advantage? Definitely, when it comes to an ecosystem, data is an asset. And how can you, like I was mentioning before, how can you governance and supervise data as an asset, not only for yourself, but also when you are working with partners? So very much about evaluating the partnership and aligning strategically in that partnership also. So again, not only the internal efforts when it comes to strategy, but how you collaborate with others. So it's a very important skill, the engagement with stakeholders, with partners, customers, employees, and the key word here is really co-creation. How then you come together, create value, how do you govern and supervise that value? And after this very short introduction, it would be very good if we could hear it now from Tuomas Syrjanen. We have collaborated with Tuomas before, and we're very, very happy to have him here today. He was co-founder of Futurice in Finland, and he's also a board director himself with several board mandates. Do you want to share your screen, Tuomas?
Yes. And let me share my screen, and also as a disclaimer, if you're wondering, all of those tabs, I will also show a couple of demos. So it's not that boring to only listen to slides. So you will see some live data and demos. But hey, maybe also like a little bit of like my background, couple of words. So related to this whole topic of data and AI and others, I'm quite proud of. I happened to decide to study as my main subject. Actually, it was machine learning, artificial intelligence back in the late 90s. But of course, it was horrible career choice in the late 90s. So I became a sort of business person and an entrepreneur. And then I was on the business side for almost 20 years. I was CEO for 10 years. But then 2018, we already started seeing that there are quite many fundamental issues in our own business. So we are 100 million euro consultants in Central Northern Europe. But back then we were smaller, but we found out that there are some fundamental issues. And we wanted to start exploring that can we do something different in knowledge work with the help of data and AI. Then also my other sort of like I've been a board director almost for 10 years in different companies. There are a few public companies and a few private companies, but especially I would say related to this data and ecosystems, I've been part of construction industry transformation almost for 10 years with almost the same starting point that, hey, there's so many fundamental challenges in construction industry. Can we do something different with the help of technology? And then data and actually ecosystems play a big part of that change. But maybe I start sort of like, first of all, and if you have ever listened to my presentation, I think that for the past 1.5 years, this has been my favorite slide. And this is Mr. Adam Savage from Mythbusters. And what he has done, he has taken the latest and the greatest Boston Dynamics robot dog and put it in front of 100-year-old rickshaw. And why do I like this slide is that unfortunately quite often technology or data or AI or other related discussion and implementations in organizations look exactly like this. We take the technology or we take data or whatever, and we plug it into our 50-year-old ways of working or the old process or the old paradigm, how we think. And then we are wondering, why don't we get any business results? I've seen this happening in our own industry. I've seen this happen in construction industry. For example, construction industry doesn't lack technology. But if we then look at the kind of top level metrics like cycle time, productivity, all those kind of things, not much improvement. And it all relates to this, that nobody actually has changed the ways of working, just bringing technology into existing ways of working. So maybe this is a segue to maybe my main point of the presentation, that this technology is very much a business issue, business topic. And that is then actually should be on the board's agenda as a business topic. Of course, there are some governance issues, there are risk issues that should be taken seriously. But I think the main point for the board, in my opinion, is to actually align and ensure that there's clarity of what we are looking from the business point of view. So if we take another extreme, these are a couple of examples I have had somewhat happy to be involved. And maybe I'd start with the construction industry, and I'm not going to go through in that detail, but let me just give you a little bit of flavor in the construction industry. So initially, roughly 10 years ago, we started applying data. And for example, one of the questions initially was that how can we know that we know that half of our construction cases are in trouble, but unfortunately, we just don't know which half. And the problem is that actually the problems are reported only like 1 month before delivery. And then, of course, nothing can be done anymore. So we thought, okay, let's start looking into data that can we actually identify those. We initially used all sorts of official data like financial data and so on, and tried to predict and model. No results, practically no signal that was helping business. But then we realized that actually looking at just access control gate, the physical access control gate, that actually where people walk in and out to the site, where they need to log in, who's in on the site, who's at the site, who left the site. Then we realized that actually just this data, just visualizing this data actually gives us really good insight of which site is in trouble 6 to 9 months before actual manual reporting. So that also gave us a little learning that, hey, actually data, we can actually sometimes solve really wicked and business critical problems, not through fancy AI, but just finding the right data source that might be sometimes quite unintuitive. Where do we find the data? And that's why we call it nowadays proxy data. So it took us actually to figure out, okay, let's create a situation awareness. Let's create all sorts of data to create situation awareness. But pretty quickly, we actually learned that we cannot get real business results. We can maybe get better control through existing paradigm. But then like around 2018, 2019, we realized that if we really want to actually get business results, we need to change the whole paradigm, meaning moving from project paradigm into industrial assembly. Industrial assembly paradigm has lots of different aspects than just data and AI. It has like tighter tolerances, much more strict sort of like so that there's much less variation in those. We are looking at much more detailed level. So instead of timetables on a week level, the timetables are 10 times more accurate, meaning that they are on a half-a-day level or nowadays at a 2-hour level in certain cases. So it's actually a paradigm shift. We also learned that when we built the situation awareness, initially, we didn't get any business results because we kept the old management process, meaning that a typical management process is a monthly cycle to make the holistic decisions. But then when we realized that now that we have automatic situation awareness through data, we can actually have weekly cycles. And then we realized that why not have daily cycles? So nowadays, the kind of the sites are led on a daily basis with the similar kind of holistic decision making that traditionally was once a month. And these started to bring results. And then we also realized that the key business driver for all this is cycle time. How do we reduce the cycle time from 1.5 years or 16 to 18 months, first to like 12 months, then 9 months. Now we are roughly at the 9 months level. And then, of course, we want to go to like maybe 5 months level in the coming years. And data and actually also the ecosystem plays a really crucial role here, because of course there needs to be a new kind of ecosystem players, new kind of consultants, new type of components that are used to actually make this industrial construction. But I would say that the big driver here is that the paradigm shift to industrial construction is the business agenda, with especially the cycle time being the key KPI. And that has actually then led all the kind of other activities there. Not the original idea that, hey, can we do something with technology? Can we do something with data? And then, of course, as you can probably guess, the big challenge has been, of course, the change management. There are a lot of identity issues. There's a lot of people who actually feel that they want to be personally in control. They want to decide exactly how to do. Some people define their professional identity around fixing the biggest problems or the biggest messes. But when we move towards this kind of industrial assembly paradigm, we actually don't want the messes. We want it to be smooth as industrial sort of production line. So we actually have an identity issue with some of the best people at the same time. Then there are other examples in this kind of data and ecosystem world, maybe not in that detail. Let's say like automotive. One of the key issues there used to be that marketing, R&D, and production did not work in sync. Meaning that each of those functions made really good decisions. Unfortunately, as a whole, the decisions were like very bad from for example, from certification, car certification point of view. And one of the key ways to actually address was to redesign and rethink how the end-to-end process works. We need to align data, meaning that every single department needs to have the same idea what, for example, a seat is. But then also there are areas like simulation systems that each and every single step in the value chain can actually simulate their decisions. And then maybe finally, one of my favorite examples is this grocery retail. Grocery retail that has traditionally had these kind of two operating models. Either you are centrally driven, looking for synergies and cost efficiencies, or you are locally driven, looking for customer experience and sort of fit for the local circumstances. Traditionally, you actually had to choose either one because there was no means of managing complexity if we wanted to be both. But at the moment, there are examples where companies have decided to be both locally driven and central synergies, meaning that every single store is different, every single store is actually customized to local circumstances, and at the same time, there are global synergies. And then the backbone for those processes is actually data. And this is maybe one of the kind of the big areas that I see happening is that we can take trade-offs or constraints that have been there for tens of years, and suddenly they are not valid anymore. And then we can start redesigning how the organization works. And all of these, the business result has been really big, sort of like whether it's double the profitability or reducing cycle time to half, which is a huge competitive factor, all those kind of things. But then, of course, the change is quite challenging and drastic on many fronts, processes, people, mindset, and so on. Good. Just maybe a couple of examples now from the sort of our own world. So this been sort of industrial and retail business, but knowledge work is also. So let me just give you a sort of like idea of like how we are applying data slightly different than maybe traditionally. So this is our knowledge management system. Already many years ago, we kind of gave up on people documenting their knowledge manually to knowledge management basis. So we decided that let's try something different. People leave behind all sorts of documents. People leave like public Slack messages, whatever those are, public calendar markings. And we started actually building knowledge automatically out of those. And this is how it looks like. And this is live system. The content is blurred to preserve confidentiality. But what we do here is, for example, we look at all the public documents inside the company. We identify what is a proposal, what document we add metadata. Especially we remove duplicates. We can actually calculate the distances between documents. So if the document is very similar in many ways, we come to conclusion it's a duplicate or a different version of the same document. If it's more different, then it's a new one. That's why we can actually now allow people to browse automatically the kind of the organizational knowledge. But we don't need to stop here. We also realized that people are looking for actually individual pieces of information. So we decided to do it on a page level. And again, we need to sort of, when we break the document into pages, we need to remove duplicates. But then we realized that actually or some of the slides or some of the pages have been used like 100 times. Sometimes we saw that they've been used, but they edited when they've gone from Finland to Germany or Germany to Finland. And then we suddenly realized that actually, although we initially brought people with the search functionality, we actually started seeing organizational things like that were completely invisible previously. We started seeing organizational knowledge. We started seeing how knowledge is developing, how knowledge is spreading, or how knowledge is flowing inside the organization. And then, of course, we also came to the conclusion that, hey, we can actually maybe track something else. Our strategy is defining how we interact with clients. That should be visible in proposals. So we realized that actually we can start tracking our strategy execution through our proposals automatically, which means that every week we take the latest proposals, we analyze them automatically, that actually how are those proposals implementing strategy. And this is putting an interesting pressure and opportunity to management processes. If we think of classic strategy execution, and when I was a CEO, we run it very classic execution, meaning that we set the strategy, we set the initiatives, we staff the initiatives, we hope for the best, and after maybe 1 year, we start explaining to the board that why haven't we progressed, because the visibility was so poor. Now we can actually see on a weekly basis, and of course, that means that we also see that it's not progressing that well on a weekly basis, but at least now we have visibility and we can do things. And I think this is, again, one of those, in the construction industry, we have this change from monthly cycle to daily cycle. But I think in many management processes, whether it's in knowledge work or somewhere else, we can actually do the same. Instead of executing and leading and managing strategy execution on a half a year cadence or quarterly cadence, we can actually lead it on a weekly basis or bi-weekly or whatever that is. Or managing risk or understanding what happens with clients. We, instead of relying on processes to manage risk, we actually start tracking real risks through data, whether it's external or internal, and then we can start leading it very fast. We don't need to also, and then also there was a mention in the beginning of this session, like combining own data to external data. What we actually also doing quite a lot is that we are taking external data like job listings or news data. We are buying actually investor data, and this is like job listing data of like generative AI related recruiting across the world out of like 80,000-90,000 different organizations. And why do we do this? Because we want to be contextual, we want to combine, we want to understand what is happening in the market and what is relevant, for example, our potential clients. And why, for example, job listings is my favorite data source is that's the most honest data source that actually companies publicize. So quite often there's quite a big difference between what companies are talking about or what kind of news articles there are. But then when we start tracking sort of jobs, who's recruiting for something like who's recruiting carbon sequestration, who's recruiting hydrogen, we actually start seeing the maturity of the market. And then we can actually go much deeper here so that there are like cases where investors have proven that technology adoption capability predicts company success. And that can be measured from job listings. So we are able to turn very abstract topics into very manageable cases. And maybe one final, again, as we are talking in the board context or management context, just to give you an idea that how might we think differently through data about, for example, classic topic of organizational alignment. So if we classically think about we have different departments, they're supposed to execute strategy, they're supposed to be in sync with each others, which typically is quite laborious process to ensure that every single organization unit is in sync. Here's just an example. We have different plans. This is a synthetic example. But instead of manually doing the alignment analysis, we can actually do it automatically, directly from digital footprint, meaning that we take the data that we find the different plans that different departments have. There's a new plan, and then we ask the system to evaluate whether those plans are aligned or misaligned. And in a few seconds, we get actually reasonably good assessment. And this way, we can actually start understanding organizational alignment or whatever those topics are in real time and have this kind of what I think is where we are heading is real-time precision organizations where we actually start seeing things in real time and actually what is happening, whether they are risks, whether they're alignment, whether they are opportunities, market shifts, and so on. But hey, maybe end of those and let's take a little bit of like the board topics. I think that my favorite question for the board and from the business point of view, how do we see ourselves? And this relates to the kind of the ambition level. Do we think that we are relevant in the future with the current approach? For example, at Futurice, we are consultancy. We believe that our current approach is not relevant in 5 to 10 years' time. That's why we are investing heavily into renewing and challenging the convention of consultancy business. Sometimes we think that yes, but that should be an explicit decision that we believe that just continuing on this track, we are successful or relevant in the future. But if not, then the question is how, but also the ambition level. So I think one of the key things that the board should align with the management is what is our ambition level? Are we just going to keep up with the market? Are we looking for competitive advantage, meaning that we shift or change or improve our processes? Then, as I was describing those 3 examples, I would say that they are more like they're systemic change, meaning that we challenge the whole operating models or conventions of an industry. And if we are successful, we will reach what can be called unfair competitive advantage, because it's really difficult to shift from a project-based construction thinking to industrial assembly. And then also what we're seeing is that then, of course, the question is, are we looking to strategic repositioning? What happened at this construction company is that roughly 2 years ago, we split the company into 2. The other company still keeps on building. The other company is a global tech company. So suddenly in 7 or 8 years, a rather okay local construction company became a global technology company through this kind of ambition level setting and execution. As important as setting the alignment, the ambition is to actually align. Are we aligned with our ambition? Is our investments, is our roles, all those kind of things, are they aligned? And quite often what I see happening is that we are not aligned. We might have high ambition, but we are not organized around high ambition. Or some people want high ambition, some people want low ambition. And high ambition is difficult, because typically high ambition means confusion. It's about confusion about the future, confusion about the product, the process, the customers, or how to make money. And it might contradict the existing sort of value chains or networks or profit structure or sales approach, or a market might not be there. And that's why typically the results initially are worse than the traditional approach. So that also means there's an internal friction that, hey, why are we doing this differently? This is worse than it used to be. But then, of course, if we're successful, then the high ambition is really important. So renewal is if we decide high ambition, the renewal is hard. So it's messy. The progress is very non-linear. It's really difficult to actually make exact plans what we will deliver and when. ROI curve is non-linear and not long-term. It requires new thinking. It requires unlearning from the classic thinking. It might be against the kind of the classic or traditional industry thinking. Timing is really difficult. Typically, as venture capitalists say, the timing is either too early, or too late. And then I would also say governance in the boards. I think it's, and I put myself also into this box, that sometimes we actually seek, as a board members, we seek order, structure, predictability. And if we have high ambition, we typically have none of those. We have actually, it's messy, unpredictable, it's non-linear. And then, of course, conflicts. There's a lot of conflicts typically in these high ambition cases. We also need new skills, new thinking about how to make money, new thinking. We want to balance on this borderline between order and chaos. Organizations are typically built around control. Top management is built around control. But in order to have high ambition, we actually need to be on this borderline between order and chaos, where we have the energy, we have the innovation. We also need to think, if we think of like ecosystems, we need to also think of like collaboration over hierarchical control. So we cannot order, we cannot actually force the ecosystem to work. We need to actually collaborate. And that actually goes against some classic thinking. Then there are, of course, all sorts of risks. We might have some conflicts between the orchestrators and complementers. Of course, if we are both ecosystem and data, we need to question ourselves how much we want to be open, how much we want to be closed, what are the different related risks, what is the kind of the legal structure for secondary use of data, regulation, cybersecurity, data breaches, all those kind of things. So we need to, of course, balance the risks with the new thinking. Then I would also highlight that this is not a technology topic. And that's why sort of like I prefer using this full stack, that actually technology and data are only like 2 layers out of 6. The people, the processes, especially I would say the paradigm choice is very much a business topic, culture and strategy. In order to succeed in whether it's a data or ecosystem or whatever kind of new paradigm, we need to actually work full stack. And maybe the worst thing is that we outsource this to an IT department or R&D department or external consultant saying that let's do something with technology and data. That's not how it goes. I also see that one of the key things is to have an explicit dialogue. Like, what are opportunities, what are risks? What is the opportunity of non-action? What is a sort of like risk of non-action? What is an opportunity of action? And what is the kind of risk of action? So that we explicitly discuss these topics. And I think we need to balance, because quite easily we end up overemphasizing the risks. And of course, when we look from the board point of view, you need to make sure that the risks are handled and those. But I would say that even bigger risks from the board point of view should be relevance. Are we actually relevant in the future if we don't harness technology data, if we don't work in the modern ecosystem way? Then finally, my toolbox for the board governance is, so number one, we need to align our ambition. Like, are we going to renew or not? I think that seeing is believing. Like, boards are provided with too high level information. I think the board should actually see live cases. Board should actually ask live cases from the management. Board should actually demand demonstrations, not just PowerPoint reporting, but demonstrations. There are even some companies, I think Apple is classic, where you cannot show progress via slides. You need to show progress through live cases. Then I prefer action over inaction, meaning that we start doing. But actually that relates that too much money is more dangerous than too little money. Because if we spend too much money, we don't need to face the reality. So I think this is a delicate balance of like providing funding, but not too much. We need to decide the KPIs. What are we going after? Is it like 50% reduction of cycle time? Is it like customer experience metric and so on? We need to start measuring behavior change, meaning outcome metrics, whether it's a customer behavior change or our own behavior change, because that actually is outcome means that we are getting some impact, but at the same time, we're only measuring like the final financial metrics, which are really slow to respond. Yeah, reporting via live demos. Board should use time to think, not just listen or have briefs, but actually time to think, have a dialogue. Boards need to have a patience paradox. We need to have patience for the long term, but we need to have impatience for action and intermediate results. Then, of course, we need to make sure that we have accountability, business accountability, risks, governance topics. And then also, I think that my preference is also finding these kind of topics of like similar concepts from other domains. That I think every company has a product portfolio or initiative portfolio or something. For data, we need information portfolio thinking. What is the kind of the data and insight that we actually want and need to succeed? And finally, we need to put it in the different phases: learning phase, delivering results, and drive transformation. Good. That's end of my thoughts.
Thank you so much, Tuomas. I think it's very valuable. You have your hands firmly down into what's happening, and you have to apply it very directly into what you're trying to get your boards to actually work with. So I think that is so valuable. I think we make a change now. We were supposed to be showing just some examples from Anna, but what we will do is we will place that on the platform for the program participants, and we will go directly to poll and discussion now, so we make sure that we will actually have time to go through and discuss this. So we will start with the poll. And can you just wave if you can see the poll? Thank you. So this is the dilemmas. Which of these dilemmas at this stage in your boards are of biggest challenge? Is it to actually look at the innovation versus privacy, compliance versus competitive advantage? Is it valuing the data as a strategic asset? Is it the partnership for ecosystems versus the strategic alignment, or is it to effectively engage with stakeholders? So we will give you a couple of seconds more to pick your choice. And then we will show it back to all of you. And after that, we're going to go into breakout room discussions. So and I'll give you another 3 seconds. And now I'm closing the poll. And here is the results. And maybe, Tuomas, do you want to comment on the results?
Yes. And I think that maybe just my initial comment is that valuing data as a strategic asset. I fully agree with that one. And I think that also then relates to what is our business agenda? Because like, what are we trying to achieve? And it takes a little bit of time in my experience to actually come up with this kind of ingenious agenda. So it's not something that comes with from one workshop or one discussion. But I think that's maybe the kind of the topic. So maybe my reflection is quite often we are missing the agenda, we are missing the direction, and that's why we struggle with many of these topics here. And then also maybe this effectively engaging the stakeholders. I think sometimes the kind of challenge is that these topics are felt difficult or technical, and the language with all the 3-letter acronyms, and I think that everybody is like making this quite difficult to sort of like approach, and that's why some people sign out. So they don't actually like join this journey, and that's why also maybe I prefer these live demos, because those typically bring people to the same situation awareness.
Very good. Thank you so much. Now it's time for all of you to be in center, and here's what we're going to do. You will be placed in a breakout room, and you will have a discussion. Agree a chair to lead the discussion, a vice chair to take some notes and report back when you come back. Pick one of the challenges. You can pick the one that got the highest rating here, or you can pick one that you agree in the room. Then discuss a bit, how do you handle that challenge right now? Is it handled at all? How do you bring it up if it isn't? And if you can, select one board practice that you're doing or that you think would be good to be doing, and share that back with us when you come back. You will be placed in the rooms, and then you will be brought back to you.
Thank you, Karen, for bringing up the scenario and future thinking. I was just going to say that we don't need to wait and see. We can see the future right now if we have the right tools and frameworks. So, as I said in the beginning of this session, this is part of the Responsible AI for Value Creation program. I just put the link there in the chat. And we have opened some sections. So for those of you who are taking the program, we will be opening the sections as we go. So very soon we are going to open the section on guiding operational excellence in AI. And the deadline to join the program is on the 9th of September. So there is still time. Please share it with your boards. It's a very interesting program. We have an AI boardroom simulator. You can talk to an AI and pretend that you are in a boardroom to discuss these topics. And this is going to be followed by a reflection guide. We still have a few more events coming up, but now they're going to be closed just for the program participants, so a smaller group. And the next one is about sustainability and AI. We have one more around risk and cybersecurity, and we wrap up with a game for boards, and we have the certification. We have a really exciting fall coming up with quite a lot of events. please save the dates. We are going to start posting them very, very soon. We have a very exciting event on kind of ideas coming from diplomacy in relation to sustainability. We are going to look more in depth into what's happening in terms of reporting. And we are going to also hear how we can embed sustainability in an organization. We will wrap up this year with the board pulse progress that we have been running yearly. So please stay tuned to join these events. Thank you so much to the speakers from today. Thank you so much to our partners that make these events possible, and that we can discuss these topics together. And just as Liselotte said, if you have time, if you want to stay a few more minutes, we can discuss a bit more of these topics. Otherwise, thank you so much, and we hope that you have a great rest of the day or evening or rest of the afternoon, wherever you are.